Now, the Taliban inherit, of course, as we were just talking about, a severely weakened Afghan economy that desperately needs international support. Now, various grants financing about 75% of the public spending in Afghanistan, 42.9% of its GDP last year came from foreign aid. That is a tremendous amount, but down, in fact, from the full 100% it represented in 2009. Now, Afghanistan's former central banker, Ajmal Ahmadi, says the Taliban can access at most 0.2%, 0.2 of its total international reserves. Now, he warned on Twitter that the Taliban could resort to capital controls, which would depreciate the Afghan currency and cause severe inflation. Abdul Qadir Fitrat was the governor of Afghanistan's central bank from 2007 to 2011. He's the author of The Tragedy of Kabul Bank. He joins us now from Fairfax, Virginia. And really, you can make a very fine point of it, can't you? The difficulties that the Taliban will now face in accessing any reserves for its government budgets.
Thank you for having me, Paula. I think Taliban are excellent in fighting, but they are inept in governance. The international reserve assets of Afghanistan are the assets of the Afghan population. They belong to the Afghan population, and Taliban must be deprived from accessing that international reserve assets, because in the past, we have been witnessed that Taliban channeled some of the funds that they received from donors during their late 90s and 2000s, mainly from Saudi Arabia and other donors. They funneled some of those money to other terrorist organizations. I saw one of the orders of Mullah Omar asking the central bank and the Ministry of Finance to pay $1.5 to $2.5 million to Juma Namangani, the head of Islamic insurgents in Uzbekistan, and also Hafiz Saeed, the same amount to Hafiz Saeed, the leader of Lashkar-e-Taiba in Pakistan. Accessing funds by the Taliban means funneling some of those funds to other terrorist organizations who have malign objectives within and outside Afghanistan, and it would be a threat to the United States and our allies around the world. Of course,
I think many people would accept what you're saying and the dangers of giving any money to the Taliban. But how do you thread that needle? Because the international community also cannot afford for Afghanistan to become yet another failed state. And as you know more than anyone, there has been so much corruption through Afghanistan for so many years now. What would your advice be to the international community right now?
My advice to the international community is not to channel funds through the Taliban authorities, but channel funds through UN agencies and NGOs and directly distribute them to the people of Afghanistan and to the people in need. Because any funds going to the Taliban or any other resources going to the Taliban would be spent by the Taliban, would be distributed to other terrorist organizations and will never reach the Afghan population.
In terms, though, of Taliban now being the reality, and perhaps I know that you say that they are incapable of governing, but it might be a reality the international community has to deal with. How concerned are you about just the daily need right now and budgets collapsing? So literally there being a shortage of food, a shortage of fuel, a shortage of money.
I'm very concerned about the future economic collapse in Afghanistan, because our trade deficit means our export versus import was already in deficit. Our export was about 10 to 15% of our exports. But on the other hand, our capital accounts, the foreign aid flow to Afghanistan was surplus, and that was the main factor to stabilize the Afghan currency. And now that the international assistance to Afghanistan is drying up, and also at the same times, our export will further decline. Afghani exchange rate vis-a-vis other foreign currencies will significantly depreciate, and import will become much more expensive. And more around 50% of Afghan consumer goods are imported. And it means that when import become expensive, it means it would impact the prices, and it would increase inflation, and the poor people of Afghanistan will be the main victims of that. Yep. But unfortunately, there is no other way around to deal with the Taliban and to deal with the consequences of their
and I know I know that the UN is already grappling with that, because a third to a half of all Afghans are already food insecure. I will have to leave it there for now, but thanks so much for your input here. Appreciate it.